A poor cleaner was accused of theft until the CEO revealed the truth on camera. Before you judge her, before you believe what your eyes tell you, wait. Wait until you hear what the cameras really captured. Because in that cold marble lobby, surrounded by accusers and flashing phone cameras, a young woman stood trembling, her world crumbling around her. And what happened next will shake everything you think you know about justice. If you stand against false accusations, hit that like button right now, because this story needs to reach everyone who's ever been judged unfairly. They called her just a cleaner, the girl with the worn-out shoes who arrived before sunrise and left after the city lights blinked on, the one who moved through the halls of Golden Wings Corporation like a whisper, invisible to those who mattered, visible only to those who needed someone to look down upon. Her name was Amina, 22 years old, but her eyes carried the weight of someone much older. Because poverty ages you differently. It teaches you lessons the privileged will never understand. Every morning at 4 a.m., while Lagos still slept, Amina would wake in a single room she shared with her mother and 3 younger siblings. The walls were thin enough to hear their neighbors' arguments. The ceiling leaked when the rains came, but it was home. And home, no matter how humble, is where love lives. Her father had been a laborer, a good man with calloused hands and big dreams for his children. But construction sites in Lagos don't care about dreams. One faulty scaffold, one moment, and 4 children became fatherless, a wife became a widow, and dreams became memories. So Amina stepped into the gap. Before we go any further, can I ask you for a small favor? This story took me days to write, record, and edit. Every frame, every emotion, every sound. It cost you nothing to support me, but it truly means everything to me. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you have not, and comment your location below. I want to know where my amazing viewers are watching from. I read every comment, and I will be giving shout out in my next video. At Golden Wings Corporation, where the floors were marble and the chandeliers cost more than her neighborhood's annual income, she cleaned, she scrubbed, she polished, making other people's worlds shine while her own remained dim. But here's what most people didn't see. She arrived 30 minutes early every day to help Mama Ngozi, the elderly cleaner whose arthritis made carrying water buckets torture. She greeted the security guards by name, Uncle Emeka, Brother Chidi, Sister Blessing, because she understood that respect costs nothing but means everything. She stayed late without complaint, covering shifts for colleagues who had emergencies, never asking for anything in return. And at night, after her body screamed for rest, she attended classes, business administration, paying her fees in painful installments, missing meals to afford textbooks, studying by candlelight when the power went out. Because Amina believed in something dangerous, that she was more than her circumstances. That poverty was her situation, not her identity. Her mother would cup her face in work-worn hands and say, "My daughter, I see your struggle. God sees it too. Your season is coming." But some people see kindness and mistake it for weakness. Mrs. Tony was the HR supervisor at Golden Wings Corporation. Mid-40s, designer everything. The kind of woman who wore her success like armor and wielded her position like a weapon. She hated Amina with a particular venom reserved for those who remind us of what we've become. Because Mrs. Tony had also been poor once, had also scrubbed floors, had also dreamed. But somewhere along the climb, she'd forgotten the struggle. And those who forget their own pain often become the cruelest tormentors of others, still trapped in it. "Look at this one," she would say loudly in the break room, making sure Amina could hear. "Going to night school, as if education can wash away poverty. My dear, some stains are permanent." Her friends would laugh. That particular Lagos laugh. Sharp, cutting, designed to remind you of your place. Amina would keep her head down, keep working, keep surviving. She had learned long ago. When you have nothing, your dignity is everything. And no one can take that unless you give it away. Then came Tuesday, A beautiful morning, the kind that tricks you into believing the world is fair. Mr. Adrian Cole, the CEO, returned from London. He was a legend in the building. Quiet, brilliant, mysterious. A man who'd built an empire but rarely showed his face. His office on the top floor was like a throne room, glass walls overlooking the city he'd conquered. That morning, whispers began circulating through golden wings, like poison through veins. Mr. Cole's watch was missing. Not just any watch, a gold Patek Philippe, custom made, worth millions of naira. A gift from his late father, his most prized possession. Panic rippled through the executive floor, and Mrs. Tony, smelling opportunity like a shark smells blood, made her move. "Who has access to the executive floor?" she asked in the crowded cafeteria, her voice carrying over the lunch chatter. Silence spread like spilled water. "Who cleans Mr. Cole's office?" More silence. "That Amina girl, is it not?" And just like that, the seed was planted. In fertile soil of prejudice, watered by suspicion, it would grow into something monstrous. What no one knew was that Mrs. Tony had orchestrated everything. The night before, after the building emptied, she had entered Mr. Cole's office with a copied master key. She took the watch with gloved hands, her heart pounding with the thrill of wickedness. 2 junior employees helped her, Ben and Chiamaka. Young people desperate for promotion, willing to sell their souls for a step up the ladder. Mrs. Tony had promised them everything if they helped her teach that proud cleaner a lesson. They planted the watch in Amina's cleaning closet, hidden behind industrial soap bottles and mop handles. Then they waited like hunters in a blind. The next afternoon, Amina opened the closet to restock her cart. She froze. There, gleaming under the fluorescent light like a coiled snake, was the watch. Her breath caught. Her hands trembled. She looked around quickly. Was this a mistake? Did someone leave it here? Should she report it? Her mind raced with the calculations of survival. If she touched it, they'd say she stole it. If she reported it, they'd ask why she waited. If she did nothing, they'd say she hid it. She was trapped before she even knew there was a trap. And behind a storage shelf, Ben recorded everything on his phone. He captured her shocked face, her panicked looking around, her frozen stance. Then he stopped recording, opened his video editor, and cut out the part where she backed away without touching anything. Now the video showed only her discovery. And in the court of public opinion, discovery looks a lot like guilt. If you've ever been accused of something you didn't do, comment, "I understand," right now. It happened during lunch hour, when the cafeteria was full and everyone could watch. The security guards approached Amina's table. She was eating rice and stew from her Tupperware, the same meal she'd eaten for 3 days because it was all she could afford. "Amina, please come with us," Uncle Emeka said, his voice apologetic, his eyes unable to meet hers. Her fork clattered to the table. "Uncle Emeka, what's wrong? What did I do?" "Just come, please." They walked her through the cafeteria. Everyone stopped eating, stopped talking. Phones came out. Because in our social media age, humiliation is content and suffering is entertainment. In the main lobby, under the crystal chandelier that cost more than her father's life insurance, they were waiting. Mrs. Tony stood at the center like a prosecutor, flanked by Ben and Chiamaka. A crowd of employees formed a circle, managers, interns, clerks, all hungry for drama. Mrs. Tony's voice echoed off the marble. "Search her bag!" Amina's world tilted. "What? Why? You didn't what? Steal Mr. Cole's watch? Then why are you trembling?" "Because you're scaring me. Search her bag." The security guard, apologetic but obedient, opened Amina's worn backpack. Textbooks fell out, a water bottle, a small Bible her mother had given her, a wallet with 70 naira inside, nothing else. Mrs. Tony's smile faltered but didn't fall. "Check her pockets." They did, a tissue, a pen, nothing. "Check her cleaning closet. That's where she's hiding it." If you believe she deserves justice, hit that like button. Because what happens next will make your blood boil. They marched her to the cleaning closet like a convict to execution. Amina was crying now, shoulders shaking, barely able to walk. Please, I didn't take anything. I swear on my mother's life. On my father's grave, I didn't do this. But her words were drops of water on a stone of judgment. The guard opened the closet, and there, sitting on top of cleaning rags like evidence planted by fate itself, was the gold watch. The crowd exploded. I knew it! Mrs. Tony's voice was triumphant, vindicated, cruel. These poor people have no shame. Give them opportunity and they steal from the hand that feeds them. Phones recorded from every angle. Flashes erupted. Voices overlapped. I always knew she was suspicious. Poor people can't be trusted. She seemed so nice. 2. It's always the quiet ones. Amina collapsed to her knees on the cold marble, her hands covering her face, her whole body shaking with sobs that came from a place deeper than embarrassment. From the place where hope lives and dies. I didn't, she whispered to no one and everyone. I didn't do this. God, you know I didn't do this. Then, a voice cut through the chaos like a blade through cloth. What exactly is happening here? The crowd parted. Mr. Adrian Cole stood at the entrance, dressed in a charcoal suit, his face carved from stone, his eyes scanning the scene with the precision of a surgeon examining a wound. The lobby fell into the kind of silence that makes ears ring. Mrs. Tony rushed forward, her voice suddenly sugary, obsequious. Mr. Cole, oh, thank God you're here. We found your watch. This cleaner, she gestured at Amina with disgust. This girl stole it. We caught her. Adrian's eyes moved to Amina, still crumpled on the floor, still crying, now looking up at him with the desperate eyes of the falsely condemned. He walked toward her slowly, deliberately, each footstep echoing. Then, he did something that shocked everyone. He crouched down to her level. Amina, his voice was quiet but clear. Did you take my watch? She looked at him through tears, her voice breaking into pieces. No, sir. No. I swear on everything I love, on my mother's health, on my father's memory. I didn't take it. I found it in my closet, but I didn't put it there. I didn't touch it. Sir, please, I'm not a thief. Mrs. Tony interjected loudly. She's lying. We have video proof. She thrust her phone forward, playing the edited footage of Amina discovering the watch. The crowd murmured. The evidence seemed damning. Adrian watched the video once, twice. His face revealed nothing. Then he stood and said 5 words that changed everything. Bring me all the cameras. Mrs. Tony's face went pale. Sir, every camera in this building, every angle, every floor, hallway footage, elevator cameras, the cleaning closet, stairwells. I want to see everything from the past 24 hours. But sir, we already have... Did I stutter, Mrs. Tony? The ice in his voice could have frozen Lagos Lagoon. Mrs. Tony's hands began to tremble. Ben and Chimaka exchanged panicked glances. IT department, Adrian called out. Conference room, now. Bring every piece of footage we have. 30 minutes later, the main conference room looked like a security command center. Monitors everywhere, each showing different camera angles, different timestamps, different truths waiting to be revealed. Adrian sat at the head of the long table. Amina sat in a corner, still crying softly, her hands clasped in prayer. Mrs. Tony stood near the door, her designer bag clutched like a shield. The IT head, Mr. Okonkwo, stood by the screens. Sir, we have everything loaded. Play it chronologically. Start with last night. The first screen flickered to life. 11:47 p.m. Executive floor hallway, empty. Then a figure appeared. Mrs. Tony looking around nervously, approaching Mr. Cole's office. The room went silent. She pulled out a key, glanced over her shoulder, and entered. The next camera angle showed her inside the office, opening drawers, searching. Then her hand closed around something. She held it up to the light. The gold watch. Someone in the room gasped. Keep playing, Adrian said, his voice like gravel. The footage continued. Mrs. Tony exited the office, walked quickly to the service area. Ben and Chiamaka appeared, meeting her near the supply rooms. The 3 of them entered Amina's cleaning closet together. Mrs. Tony placed the watch on a shelf, positioned it carefully. Then all three left, Ben giving a thumbs up. The room erupted in whispers. Silence, Adrian commanded. The next footage showed the following afternoon, earlier today. Amina approaching her closet, opening the door, freezing when she saw the watch. Her face showed pure shock, confusion, fear. She looked around, took a step back, and closed the door without touching anything. Then, the camera angle switched. Ben, hiding behind a shelf, phone out, recording. He stopped, pulled up his phone, his thumbs moving quickly, editing. The final piece of footage showed Mrs. Tony in her office. Ben's phone connected to her laptop, both of them watching the edited video, nodding, smiling, planning Amina's destruction like it was a business strategy. The conference room was silent enough to hear hearts breaking. Adrian stood slowly. He turned to Mrs. Tony, and his voice, when it came, was controlled fury. "How long have you been doing this to her?" Mrs. Tony's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No words came. "How long?" Adrian repeated. "Have you been making this girl's life hell?" "Sir, I can explain." "Explain what?" "That you framed an innocent woman? That you orchestrated an elaborate scheme to destroy her reputation? That you stole from me to hurt her?" Mrs. Tony's expensive composure cracked like cheap ceramic. She was always so proud, always studying, always smiling like she was better than her position. "I just wanted to teach her." "Teach her what? That cruelty is rewarded? That power means you can destroy the powerless?" Adrian turned to the room, his voice rising for the first time. "Look at what we've become. Look at how quickly we condemned her. No investigation, no benefit of doubt. We saw a poor girl and immediately assumed guilt. Is this who we are? Shame hung in the air like smoke." Comment: justice, if you believe truth, always wins. Because what comes next will restore your faith in humanity. But Adrian wasn't finished. He walked to where Amina sat, still crying, but now from relief, from exhaustion, from the overwhelming weight of vindication. He crouched down again, and when he spoke, his voice was gentler. "Amina, look at me." She raised her eyes. "Everyone in this room thinks they know who you are. A cleaner, a poor girl. Someone to pity or mock or ignore. But I'm going to tell them who you really are." He stood and addressed the crowd. 12 years ago, Golden Wings Corporation launched a scholarship program. We wanted to invest in brilliant young minds from underprivileged backgrounds. We received thousands of applications. But one essay made me cry. The room leaned in. It was written by a 13-year-old girl who had just lost her father in a construction accident. She wrote about poverty, not as something to be ashamed of, but as something to overcome. She wrote about dreams with the passion of someone who had every reason to stop dreaming. She wrote about family with the devotion of someone who understood sacrifice. That essay was the most beautiful thing I'd ever read. Adrian paused, letting the words settle. That girl was Amina, and she won a full scholarship. Tuition, books, living expenses, everything paid for 4 years. Amina looked up, surprised he remembered. But 2 weeks before the program started, her mother fell ill. The medical bills emptied whatever savings they had. And this 13-year-old girl came to my office herself. I still remember her in her too big school uniform. And she said, "Sir, I cannot accept your scholarship. My family needs me now." Some people in the room were crying now. I tried to convince her. I told her the scholarship was hers, that we could help with medical bills, that education was her future. But she refused. She said, "My mother gave me life. Now it's my turn to give her a chance to live. I will find another way to study." Adrian's voice grew stronger. She was 13 years old, and she walked away from her dream to save her family. So I did the only thing I could. I hired her. Not because I needed another cleaner, but because I needed to keep this extraordinary soul within reach. I needed to see if that fire would survive poverty's attempt to extinguish it. He looked directly at Amina. And it did. You're still studying, still fighting. still kind, despite every reason to become bitter. You help elderly colleagues when you can barely help yourself. You smile at people who mock you. You hold on to your dignity when the world strips away everything else. The room was completely silent. So no, Amina is not just a cleaner. She is one of the strongest, most principled young women I've ever encountered. And today, she was almost destroyed by jealousy, wearing the mask of authority. He turned back to Mrs. Tony, whose face was a canvas of shame and fear. You're fired, Mrs. Tony. Effective immediately. Security will escort you from the building, and I'll be pressing criminal charges for theft and defamation. Mr. Cole, please, I have children. You should have thought about your children before you tried to destroy someone else's child. Maybe your unemployment will teach you the empathy your success stole from you. Two security guards stepped forward. Mrs. Tony, the woman who had walked these halls like royalty, was led out like a criminal. Ben and Chimaka were terminated on the spot. If you believe good people still exist in this world, hit that like button and share this with someone who needs hope. Then, Adrian turned back to Amina, who was still processing everything, still unable to believe this was real. Stand up, Amina. She stood on shaking legs. The scholarship you gave up at 13? I'm giving it back to you. Full tuition, full sponsorship, all expenses paid. You'll continue working here part-time with full salary while you study. And when you graduate, there's a management position with your name on it. Amina's hands flew to her mouth. Her knees buckled and Adrian caught her. You deserve this, he said firmly. You always did. The room erupted in applause. Employees who had watched her humiliation now witnessed her elevation. Some clapped out of genuine joy, others out of guilt. But they all clapped. Colleagues who had sneered at her poverty now approached to apologize, to hug her, to cry with her. And Amina, overwhelmed, exhausted, vindicated, could only whisper through tears, "Thank you, God. Thank you." That evening, Amina walked home through familiar streets that somehow looked different now. Past the market women packing up their wares, past children playing football with a deflated ball, past neighbors sitting outside because their homes were too hot to bear. She climbed the narrow staircase to her family's room. Her mother was cooking on their small stove, her siblings doing homework by window light. Amina, you're late. We were worried. Then her mother saw her face, saw something had changed. Mama, Amina's voice broke. Mama, it happened. What you said would happen. God saw me, Mama. He saw me. Her mother dropped her wooden spoon and the two women collapsed into each other's arms, crying tears that washed away years of struggle, of humiliation, of wondering if tomorrow would ever be better than today. Her siblings gathered around, and there in that cramped room with the leaking ceiling and thin walls, a family celebrated what money can never buy: vindication, dignity, and the promise that suffering is not forever. 3 months later, Amina walked into Golden Wings Corporation in a business suit, not pushing a cleaning cart, but carrying a laptop bag, not taking the service elevator, but walking through the main lobby where her humiliation had occurred, not avoiding people's eyes, but greeting them as equals. The marble floors she used to scrub now reflected her confident stride. She enrolled in university, top of her class, business administration, just like she'd always dreamed. 2 years later, she graduated with honors. 4 years later, she was promoted to junior manager. 7 years later, she started the Amina Foundation, a scholarship program for young people from poor backgrounds, especially girls who'd lost parents. She personally reviewed every application, and whenever she found a story of sacrifice, of children giving up dreams to save families, she made sure that dream got a second chance. And Mr. Adrian Cole, he attended every one of her foundation's events, sitting in the back, watching with the quiet satisfaction of a gardener who planted a seed and watched it become a forest. You see, the world told Amina she was worthless. Poverty tried to convince her she was powerless. Cruelty attempted to persuade her she deserved nothing. But truth had a different story to tell. Truth whispered through security cameras, revealing that the real theft wasn't of a watch, but of dignity. Truth shouted through the conscience of a CEO who remembered a 13-year-old's essay and never forgot what real wealth looks like. Truth proved that in a world obsessed with what you have, the only thing that truly matters is who you are when no one's watching. Mrs. Tony had position, power, money, but she was bankrupt where it mattered. Amina had nothing but her character, and that made her richer than any gold watch could measure. Before you leave, I want you to answer something honestly. What would you have done if you were Amina? And how would you have dealt with someone like Mrs. Tony? Drop your answer in the comments right now. I'm reading every single one, and I promise you, your voice matters. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Every week, I bring you stories of people who were knocked down but refused to stay down. Stories of ordinary people who proved that character is destiny. Share this video with someone who's struggling right now, someone who feels invisible, someone who's been accused unfairly, someone who needs to know that their season is coming. And remember this: the world will judge you by your circumstances. People will define you by what you lack. But God? God defines you by what you refuse to lose. Your integrity, your kindness, your faith that tomorrow can be better than today. In a society that worships wealth and despises poverty, never forget that the only poverty that truly matters is poverty of character. Thank you for watching. Your support keeps these stories alive. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, stay kind, stay strong, and remember, truth always has the final word.